Good morning, traders. Welcome to daily webinar. Let's start. So today's Monday, we're gonna go through all the charts. Let me clear this up. We're gonna go through all the charts. We're gonna identify trade. We're gonna show you where the entries for the trade are. We're gonna show you where the stop is. And then we're gonna show you what happened to the trade. So those of you who don't take the trades can't blame us for saying, hey, there was no trade, or I didn't get any trade, or I can't find a trade. You ever looked at how many colors we have at the side here? At the end of the day, sometimes I look at the amount of colors we had and I get scared because there are too many. But they're all telling you at what stage a trade is going to be. Now, here's what you can do. And I think this could be an issue. You might say, well, I only trade the dollar pound. Now, I don't care what strategy you're using on the dollar pound. If you trade only the dollar pound, you're not going to get a trade in the dollar pound every day. You can force the trade in the dollar pound every day and lose your account. But if you're looking for a good trade setup on the dollar pound every day, you're not going to get it. It's not going to happen, especially if the dollar pound is in a very tight consolidation. You can take trades in there. Most likely you're going to get break even or losses, but it's not going to move out of that consolidation if it is in the consolidation, not because you take a trade. So you can't force the trade if you're not getting it. And regardless of what strategy you're using, if something is in a consolidation, I don't care what BS strategy you think you can find, it's going to stay in that consolidation. There is no trade to get. That's simple. It's not complex. It's not something difficult. If it is in a consolidation and you are trading this thing only, no matter what strategy you use in here, you're going to lose your account. Try taking 10 trades in there and see what happens. That's 10 losses. Your job is to get the impulse when it comes out of that. Now, there might be numerous attempts at getting that impulse, but every time we set up an attempt, we said, well, this attempt has this amount of risk in it. And this is where you're going to try to get break even if it doesn't come out. So we'll try to get it from the bottom or in the middle. And by the time you get to the top, if the range is huge enough, you got to get break even out of it. And then you take the break even. Because if it breaks out, it's your trade. If it doesn't break out, you rather take the break even. It's not that complex. And you can, anyway, let's go. I really don't know why traders, and like I always say, if you're having an issue, if you're facing difficulty, come to us, let us know. What is it you're getting difficulty with? And then we look at it and we'll help you. We'll figure out what is your problem. Traders who come to me and figure out what is their problem have become successful. If they're struggling, right? They become successful. So we're looking at the dollar index. Let's go back to the dollar index. And we're coming down really strong, right? You can start to see that there is an expanding. We can agree now that that is an expanding flat. The reason we had this on Friday was that, and let me explain again, the reason this was here was pretty clear. If this was a running flat, if we thought that was a running flat, which I said I don't really like very much, but if that was a running flat, then this would drop. So an entry order here made sense, because if it drops this much, you would want the trade. But like I said to you, if it's not dropping, if it's consolidating in here, then we would go with the expanding flat, and then this would be a flat of its own. A flat that is likely could go down more, because this is at an extreme level. It's at a really extreme level. And from the extreme levels, every time we're at an extreme level, breaking the top, from the time all sells we get, we will take. All sells we get, we'll take. All sells we get, we'll take. All sells we get, we'll take. One of those is going to be this movement. I hope that's pretty clear. So we're at a point where we're getting sell setups. That's why we're taking them. That first sell was there. This was a sell. If this was going to become a flat pattern or something like this, for example, we will see it, and then we will start to go with the buys, which is what we did when this finished. So you go back to the 1 hour and you're looking at it. Why do I say you should trade in the 1 hour, especially for new traders? Let me explain this again so that nobody can. You can trade on the 1 minute if you want. You might even be successful. We had a guy who was successful for 3 months trading the 1 minute, and he literally, I think, tripled his account. But then he disappeared. Well, either he's still successful out there making millions, or he totally break his psychology. Because I know one girl who did it and is not trading. I definitely know because I got feedback from her that she stopped trading. I didn't get feedback from the guy, although I wrote him a few times. Now, It's either you have that skill level to trade on the 1 minute, go ahead and do it. You don't need to ask anybody permission to do that. If you have the skill level, do it. Not everybody in the room will have that skill level. You can trade on the 5 minutes and the 15 minutes and the 1 hour. The 1 hour is the safest place. The reason is because the size of the 1 hour impulse is enough for you to take break even if you're the worst trader in the world. It's enough for you to take a small profit if you really don't know where to exit. The size of the 15 is much, much faster. The size of the 5 is even faster. 1 minute is like Ferrari. It's really fast. The size of the impulse will get shorter on a lower time frame. The lower the time frame, the shorter that impulse. So you have to make sure you know that, you have that calculation in place. Now, the only time I encourage people to go lower is as they develop their skill levels, their experience, and their knowledge. And as you go lower, it means you're getting better at what you do. You can trade better, you're getting better, you're making money. I would not say to you when you jump in the room 2 months after to start trading and then 15 minutes even, because you have not reached that level. Now you would say, well, how do I know when I reach that level? When you test it and you see you can do it and you're doing it successfully, you'll reach the level. If you do it and it didn't go well, you haven't reached the level. You will know when you reach 11 because you will know that, hey, I can do it. I master this art. I can do it here. And I can do a little more and I can do a little more, which means I can go one step lower. If you get there and you start to feel scared and feel anxiety and feel nervous and all of that, it means you're not there as yet. Go back to the 1 hour. Go back to where you feel that comfort level in trading. And once you get that comfort in you in trading, you're not trading out of fear, you're not trading with anxiety in you. You have rational thinking taking place. When you're in anxiety and in fear and all of that, your rational thinking closed down. You're thinking emotional. You're not very rational in your thought. You can't analyze properly. So that's the whole point. Being able to analyze properly, you will need a cool head, what they say, cool head, which means you're not very emotional. You're rational. You looked at this from a rational point of view. See, it's that simple. So can you trade lower time frame? When you get the skill level, do it. But when you don't do it. So we're in this on the 15 minutes. You can see there is a trade here on the 15. I would never advise anyone to take this because what we have is an impulse and we're almost at the bottom of the impulse and this is likely going to drop. And the chances are this could drop like that, which would make a very good trade if you take it here and you put a stop there. But that's a guess, thinking it will be a running flat. We don't know it's going to be a running flat. The higher probability is it will just do this. Let me get a different color, red. The higher probability is it will just do this, tag this low, and then do that. Break this stop. And now we would look for a sell. You can take a 15-minute trade from here going because you have a complete pattern. Like I said, this was a good trade because you had a complete pattern. You broke this low and you consolidate under that low. Those are the rules. If you try to take this trade earlier here, if you try to take this trade, well, I will take it from here because when it breaks this, it's going to go, well, it could have broken this, come to this point, and then shoot up like that. And this would have been a flat. We would all come and say, that was a flat. Why did you sell there? So what's the confirmation that it's not a flat? When it made this consolidation, that's your sell, not here. This is not a sell. You can take it, but it's not a good trade. I'm not saying you can't take it. You can do anything you want, but that trades like that will lead you to lose your account eventually. Slowly but surely. So the whole thing about trading is finding a high probability trade. It's not finding a trade every day. You don't have to find a trade every day. Right? If there is no trade today, there is no trade. You don't have to find it. The point is not finding a trade. The point is finding a high probability trade that gives you good results. Now, are there high probability trades in the charts, the amount of charts we looked at every day? Absolutely. We do it every day, so you see trades. If you're looking at a single chart, you're not going to get a trade every day. If you're looking at 20 charts, sorry, like we do in the group, you are going to get a trade at least. And I keep saying the reason you should join the trading room is because there are more than one person in there. There are 5, 10, or 6 of you who share this knowledge. Of each one of you trading, I don't know, 3 pairs or 4 pairs. No one could trade 20 pairs at the same time on their own. It's not as impossible, but it's difficult. It's going to put a stress on you. So, but if you're looking at 5 trades intensely, doing all the work, and somebody else is looking, you come in the room, there are about 20 pairs to look at. So you have the opportunity of finding a very good high probability trade. And that's the one you take. Now, do we identify high probability trade every day? Yes, there's a trade here, but this is not a high probability trade. There's a trade that has a chance of breaking this low, going back up there. Even the buy would not be that such a good one. And then we'll have a flat, but the sell here would absolutely be a trade. So if by New York, this thing goes back up, or even tag this low and go back up, we have a very good trade for New York session. Right? 1 second, let me pause for a second. We all have an amazing trade for the New York session. Why would the New York session sell be perfect and this wouldn't? Well, you have a complete pattern. This was a good trade. Whether you took it from here or whether you took it from there. Why the chances are this would have dropped to the bottom? Well, it only broke the low, which fulfilled the pattern, started to go back up. You either take break even or a small loss. Nothing is wrong with trades like that. It's just once in a while that would happen. It doesn't happen to you every time, regardless of what you think. I always said people who said, well, I always get tagged and pull back into that. So document it. Document it, keep the stats, and then you would see. The reason you're not finding trade is because of fear of taking trades like these. You would have 15 of them for the day and 10 would go, but you were not in them because you have fear. You're trading out of fear. 10 of them would go. 5 would probably tag you and pull back into break even or small loss, but 10 would go and you would not be in any of them because you're not working with stats. You're working with emotion. And I always said, work with the stats. You would see the difference. So do we have a trade in this today? No. I'll wait for this to come back here. I'll wait for it to go back and break the top. I want to see a 1, 2, 3, and then we would look for this trade. We look for that trade there. Hopefully it's a drop and a small flag, and then we can take it. A drop and a small flag, and then we can take it. If we can't take it there, we will always have an insurer to sell here. Why you would have an insurer to sell there? Well, let's look at how far this can go. This can go back all the way to the bottom. In a single drop, it can do something like this. So, or more than that. So if it comes here and it goes back up there, and we're waiting for a flag here, but we don't get a flag and it drops like this, you wouldn't get this trade unless you have an insurer here. So you would put an insurer there and you will wait for the flag. So if you get a flag before the insurer, you can use the small flag to sell. If you don't, then you put that insurer, because if it drops that much, you will not be in the trade. Here's a good example. If you were waiting for a small flag in this piece to go up, that was one sharp move. So the entry order was the only trade to give you this one. Because you're not always going to get that small flag. You can see there's one sharp candle there that took off, right? One sharp candle, anyhow you put it. It did not give you the flag. Right? There was no small flag inside. And sometimes you're not going to get a small flag inside. Sometimes you do get it. A small flag would have been one candle would pull back, right? The one pullback would have been the small flag. See, there's no small flag in this going. So if you took this small flag, well, great. You get it there, you take break even, you put entry above the top here. So the first small flag would have been a break even trade because you close that trade if it's coming back to you. The same thing what we'll do here. You can sell this, but you're hoping that it's going to be a running flat, and good luck with that. Hope is not my strategy. Okay, so we're going up with this. This tag you and pull back. Here's where I always tell you don't have to fear. This turned out to be what we think it is. This turned out to be a running flat. But remember, this is one, you got this, and this whole piece could still be one. Right, so the reason we said you put this is, what if it has done this? Then you would want the trade. But if it doesn't do that, what you do? Worst case is you get break even out of the trade. That's your worst case nightmare now. What's the fear in taking a trade like that? What would be the better trade if you were there earlier? The better trade would have been taking this one. And it still would have been a break-even trade. You still would have taken it out for break-even when it starts to pull back. And then your entry order would go here. So do we have a trade there? I think we do have a trade there. You can still, but let's see, do we want to take this one? We have divergence here, we have there. It's going to go one more up, and then likely it will start to pull back. Let's hope it continues to. Let's hope the one up is bigger than this. So you're looking at something like this here, which means it could go up like that. So it's still a trade. Could you have got it from breakout here? Do we have a flag in here? If you got a flag in there, always you're looking at, when you're looking at 15, you're looking to see whether there's a consolidation in the middle, like 1, a 2, and a 3. In this case, I didn't think this is big enough, so I would put it above the top. Why it's not? If it was big enough, we'll put it on top of the last impulse. In this case, you can't clearly see where the last impulse is going to be, because this would be a very, very small running flat or contracting flat, depending on how you look at it, right? So I would not put the trade there. So we'll wait for this to break it up. Why? Because this can come here and still come back here and do this and then do this. And now we have a flat here, which the last impulse will be this one for the upside. You're still within the correction range, and we don't have a complete pattern. There's a very small one, but not a complete pattern like this case. This is a bigger flat pattern that you have, bigger running flat pattern. So when you're looking for this thing could come back all the way back to the low here, you'll be tagged there and then watch it come back. So let's keep it above the top. So that would be a buy setup for now. We'll put it as an aggressive buy. Why aggressive buy? Because if it goes and it breaks the top and it's not going anymore, which means this impulse is about to finish, we'll take break even. So you put it in as aggressive buy. That is a trade, regardless of how we want to trade it. That's a trade. Let's go. Gold. Gold, last week I told you, once this come back sharp and don't break the low, we're going to get a much long drawn out pattern. Anytime you are at the top there and you get sell set up, you can take it. Anytime you're at the bottom here and you get a buy set up, you can take it. This didn't give you a sell setup. This probably would have been one if it dropped there. It didn't. It went back up. So now we have this sharp wave that we don't have anything with, and we're getting this one. But this is making a flat here. So could we have put it this one with this here? Maybe. It's not a far stretch. You can make an argument for that. Or we're going to make a more complex pattern in this piece. We have seen that where they really become complex. I think we can get a trade here. This needs to go back up a little to that top, make that flat. And if that happens, we can go for this trade. Hoping that this makes an impulse like this coming back to the bottom here, right? We would probably see this go back up. We might even see it drop again, and then we could see this happen. That would give us this pattern. So if that happens, that is the most likely scenario of how I'm going to see this develop, which means we're going to come back here sharp again for this one. We will go back up there and we will retest this low, because if you get this amount of consolidation at the bottom here, the chances are you will retest the low. There's a higher probability to the downside retesting that low before it goes back up. That is the trade I'm talking about. So when you're looking at this, we're not saying put an entry under this and wait for a buy there. I'm showing you that's the low. That's not where you should be buying or selling. I'm not saying wait for a sell there. 20 days from now is going to attach you. What I'm saying is look at this. Try to get it from the top. The range is huge. If you get a flag here, you take it. If you get a flag here, you take this flag. Let it go back up and then we look for this trade. Now, can we assume that this one is the end of the flat here, this piece? That this here was it? That was it? I don't think so. Because if that was it, probably will be dropping already. And we get it. This one is really sharp. If this even belongs to all of this here, you can make an argument for that. Then you'll have to put an entry under this low and a stop here. So if you think that this could be the end of it, if you want to look at it that way, because it did come back to the top. It didn't really break it, but it came back to the top. I believe this is making something more complex. I'm looking at this piece and thinking, well, we're making something like this that might just come here, go back there, then go back up and then drop. So that's why I say allow it to come back to the top. In that case, when it gets back to the top, it's almost guaranteed to drop. When it comes back to the top, two things are going to happen. It's either going to do this or it's going to do this. We don't want this because we don't know what that means in terms of this pattern. That means you get 1, you get 2, you get 3 here, and that changes the pattern to the upside. But we're not looking for that part. We're looking for if it comes back here and then go back up. Because the higher probability is coming down, not going up. We're in this pattern. We're in the top part of it. So we'll skip this for now. Let's go here. I think now we can start trading this. I don't think it's going to go back higher than this. We will go with this as the contracting flat, most likely, or it becomes more complex, which means this comes back here, break this low, and still go back up, right? So to break the low, to break this low here, there's still a trade that is going to form there, right? So it could come here, break this low, go back up there, or it could drop through the bottom and be a contracting flat. So it's either a contracting flat or we're still in the correction, which means I'll take this off. And assuming that if we're still in the correction, we're still in this one here, right? We're still in this. Either it comes to this low, go back up, or it drops through the bottom, make a contracting flat. Do we have a trade from here to here? You can go into 1 hour, let's see. It's kind of making a flag here. We could use this flag with a stop here for the trade that will break this low. So if this flag comes here and go back up, you will get a regular flat for downside. That'll be a good trade. Can we assume there's a contracting flat in there? Let's see in the 15. I don't see a contracting flat, but we've seen these kind of triangular looking patterns in here, right? It looks like this. If you put it with this, would be something like that as a contracting flat. So you can do two things. You can either put an entry under the low, which in this case is dangerous. It could come tag you, go back there. That would be a running flat and then go down, right? That's the risk of this side. Or you wait for this to come back to this level. You wait for it to do this, go back up there, break this top, and now you have a flat. You can put an entry under this one. Once we break the top, put an entry there and go for this trade. So with this one and a stop here, you're pretty much going to get it more than a 1-to-1 trade. And the idea is that if it's a running flat, the reason we're taking the idea is if it's a contracting flat, it's going to drop really hard. You're not only going for that trade. That trade is the minimum, right? That trade is saying, well, it's going to stop under this low, right? It's going to stop somewhere here. If it goes there, come back here, then you're going for this trade because you're thinking this trade is here with a stop here. But what if it is a contracting flat? We will make another flag here and drop. We'll make another flag and drop, so you continue to trade it. Euro? Okay, so we broke the low. The question now, the only question we have on the euro, we know we broke the weekly low and everything, is whether this is still a big correction, a weird one, but big one. If you take off all the lines in it, let's take off everything, so you can have a more objective view of it. If you take off all the lines and you're looking at it, by the way, never put an entry order here for this trade. Don't do that. We don't trade like that, right? We trade this, and we trade this, and we trade that one, and we trade this one, and we trade this one. We don't put an entry order here. Let's go. So coming back to this one here, we've got this flat. This one turned out to be, it did drop, but it turned out to be an expanding flat. So we're getting another one here. That is a good sign we might be going up. Now, here's the thing. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This could become a bigger one. It could be 6, 7, and then you get the bigger one, 8, 9, and then you get the bigger one. That could happen. But once you get this amount, you already think, well, okay, is this going to become a bigger one? So now we can go into 15 and see what would be my trade. So we'll put these flats so we identify them. We're not going to put anything else. We'll put the rest later. Let's put the flats so we identify them. This one, we'll have to go with this as an expanding flat. That's the closest you can get to it. I think I'll take it from this one because I like the flat inside after that. And now we have the sharp one, and we're getting the correction here, right? It did come back to the top. That's a good sign. There's a chance this is going to go down back, right? I don't know if this is going to make another top there and then come here, but I wanted to come back here before we go for the buy. And because it can become a bigger flat, buying at the top here is a bad idea. Wait for it to come back. So I'm going to put 2 lines here so we know what we're looking at. That's the top. It is only the top, nothing but the top. This is the bottom. And nothing but the bottom of the impulse. All I'm trying to say to you is that we're within that impulse. And at some point they could break that, but we would like them to first come back here before they go. So we'll get the trade from here going up, or we'd like them to break the top and then come back here. So we would look for a trade from here going up. This would be a running flat. That is the only purpose of those 2 lines, to tell you where you are in the given structure. Don't misinterpret those lines for anything else. And don't come and tell me that they probably represent something else, because I'm telling you why I put them there. I put them there because I'm showing you the top of bottom of the impulse and we're within that impulse. And by rule, as long as you're within that impulse, you're still in a correction. So let's see now. It could break the top, yes. If it breaks the top and it comes back down, we'll go with running flat. I don't think we want to trade within this. What's the range of this? Well, it's a 7 to 9 range. So if you got it from the very top, which means if this does anything that goes back like this and then make a flag here, then that could be a trade hoping that it comes back at least to this level or so for breaking the top. That would give you about a 30, 40 pip trade because you would lose about 20 here. So on a 70, you'll probably get about 40 because you're not going to come out exactly at the bottom, right? You can put an entry order to say, sell me here. And then you might get a little more, but you don't know that. We don't expect an expanding flat. Now, if it goes from here, by the time you get a setup to trade, and by the time it comes and break the slope, I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea. If we had a bid, like I said, within this range, 70 range, if you get a good setup, you can, with risk to reward in it, you take it. If you don't, then we wait. We'll know that later today. Pang, also going up. We didn't break the top. So I don't think it is what we thought it was, a running flat. We didn't break the top for that. Pang, on the other hand, still doesn't have anything that we can put this with. I still don't see putting it with that. That doesn't make sense. So we could still put it with this, but the move up could be really, really slow. Unless, of course, you make a bigger flat here. Go back up there, then pull back sharp like this, and this becomes the running flat. Right? We don't have anything to put that with, so we will not put it with anything. We'll wait for something that comes. So what do we have here for a trade? Let's see. We have this. I think this will come back here. That is a flat by itself. So you kind of went up, they make a small flat, it gapped, you make another flat. There's a good chance this is going to go back up. And if this is still the running flat, this could be a move to the upside. So you want it to at least break this top or break this top. This could be a trade, especially if it pulls back. So if this pulls back to the bottom here, like this, and we think this is a bigger flat, this could be a trade. Because by the time it gets to this top here, this one or this one, you can get that trade to break even. Right? If it doesn't go. If this is the running flat, then it can really take off. So this might be a trade. We'll have to wait. We'll wait for a buy setup. And this is a buy setup, which means you're waiting for this trade to actually go. Right? You're waiting for that to happen. Aussie. Aussie is pretty simple. This was a trade. Worst case, you would have got break even. But if you're putting a stop here and the trade is here and you're coming here and you didn't take some profit, well, that's something we need to learn on, work on how to get out of the profit. What you're getting here now is a bigger flat, which means downside. This is a bigger flat. So if this flat stays where it is, this is the biggest structure, right? Let's go back to the 1 hour and the 4 hour. This is the biggest structure. Remember that there's still a chance we can look at this as a running flat because we haven't broken the low. And there's a good chance we're going to come to break the low. So this sell is a good idea. It's a really good idea to come and break the low. The sell would be putting your entry here, putting a stop here for this one. Now, you would say, what if it comes back to the top within this range? Can we get it here? Well, we'll have to look at the range and see whether it's worth getting there. So you're going back here for this. This trade would be valid only if we stay within this correction. If we stay within this correction. So this has got, if this is going to go back up, actually, we have a 1, 2, 3 already. That's a contracting flat. So if this goes back up for some kind of a regular flat to that level, on the way down, a trade here would be okay. What's the range? I think the range is about 50 pips. This should be about 50 pips. It's only 30 pips. So you'd really have to get it somewhere where it's only 10 pips away. You put an entry. So by the time it comes to the bottom, you can put it to break even. Otherwise, to that, your entry go under the low. Now, should we put an entry under this low? I think we should. And the reason is because if it is a contracting flat, this is going to drop. So we can put a sell here because if this is the flat, this can drop. But if this goes back up, what you're going to do when it gets to the top there is really look at the chart, right? If this drop now, you want that trade because we're looking for this now, right? If this goes back up here, then we would assume that we're making a more complex flat. This is still it. If it goes higher into this level, we take this off There might be a sell here for this to come here if we get a sell there from this to come here, but then this is upside. That will confirm a flat for upside. So which is it? Is it going to drop or the upside? We stay with the drop for now. We keep this as a trade. That's the trade setup. It's an aggressive sell. We put the entry order in. Why an aggressive sell? Because we don't know that it's a contracting flat. Contracting flats, we'll have to assume it's aggressive sell. If it goes back to the top, we'll put a normal sell. So we're just waiting to see whether that's a contracting flat or not. This one was contraction and went up. So let's see if we get a trade. That is the trade that is going to bring you down to the bottom here, all the way to the bottom. Break the low and then we turn. New Zealand. Okay, so we broke out, we pull back, and we're still going up. So this broke out. This actually made a flat. I don't know if this is real. That's the question, because if this is real, that is the whole thing. This one is going up. If this is not real, then we have a similar situation like on the New Zealand, like on the Aussie. So this, let's check it on a few more, see if it's real. Can somebody tell me we're on FXCM? Let's check on Rwanda. Rwanda has it. Let's check one more. It is there. And last on IDC. We have a problem. IDC doesn't have it. Let's see if another one doesn't have it. Can somebody tell me in your broker so if it's real? If it's actually there? This has it. So only one broker doesn't have it. And one is enough to tell us to have doubts whether that is real. I don't know. We'll have to check that, whether that price is real. Because if the price is real, it will change the direction you're going. Actually, you have a buy setup. If this is real, this could be a buy setup here for this to go out. If it is not real, then what you have is you're still in this consolidation here, and probably we can drop just like we're looking at the Aussie. This, on the other hand, doesn't have that structure like the Aussie has. We don't have the idea of this getting anywhere. We don't have that sharp move up in it. So I think we just wait some more, since I don't know if that is real. We wait some more, see what it's doing here, and then we'll decide whether this thing is real or not. Right? We just wait some more than that. Yen. So this was a sell. That was an aggressive sell we took on the 15. That one. I don't know what's wrong with that. If you don't want to take that trade, it came here, do this, do this, do this. If it can, if you close to break even, I think it's worth it, because we don't know whether this would have dropped there. You see, if you don't take these trades, when they drop like this, you say, well, I missed the trade. I don't get it. I'm not getting any trade. And if it doesn't go and you can get break even, I think that is still amazing. Right now, we're getting another consolidation here. We're getting this consolidation. We had an impulse. We made a flag. We're getting another impulse. I think we can put an entry order here to sell under this slope, because that is one pullback only. So this could make another pullback here, and it could still go back up one more. We'll put the entry here. That will complete this flat. Now the question is, should we buy this? Is this the one that is going to take off? If you put it in the 1 hour or the 4 hour, you'll see, well, it looks more flat than upside. It could go, but it looks more flat than upside. So I said we put it for the sell. I'll put a sell here in this one. We put that for the sell and see what happens. The potential of this thing dropping is very huge. Right? We can go with a 1, 2, 3, a bigger correction, and then a drop. There is a huge downside in this. I think we should take it. So let's go. Swiss. Swiss has a buy. The big direction of Swiss is downside. This is a sharp impulse, and I do not believe we'll reverse that impulse just like that. I believe we've made that drop. We're making consolidation to drop. Here's the question. How far would that go? How high would this consolidation go? I don't know, but you can take the risk of taking an aggressive trade here. That would be above the last impulse, right? The last impulse on this was this piece. See? The last impulse on this would be this one here down. You can put an entry order there. Right? You have an impulse down. You have a flat. You have another impulse down. Either this takes off or it continues to make more down, and then we'll consider whether we put it lower. But even if it tags you, you keep the stop here. There's hardly that it has to break this stop. So if it tags you and it breaks it up and look like it's pulling back, then you want to take break even in the trade. Because remember, the big picture is downside. So why would we take that trade if the big picture is downside? I'm looking at the size of the impulse. the size of this impulse. And if we were to reverse anything in this, I don't know, 50%, there's a good chance that this move could end up doing this before it drops. It might go here, make another small one, go there, and if you don't get take out for break even, that would be survive it. It goes there, then drop. We'll look for a sell from here going down. But for now, with this buy makes sense, and the impulse is really big. So it could pull back deep into it before it goes. It's a risky trade. It's a 15-minute buy. Take the trade, practice on it. Put half of what you normally risk so you can practice on these trades if you don't know. And the sell would be here. If you can't take a trade like that, then you can't trade on the lower time frame. That's your practice to see if you can do it. So you put an entry order there. If this crawls way down to the bottom, if this comes back here and do this and do this and do this and get to the bottom here, take the trade off, because we're going to do that, but then we're going to drop. So I think we'll rather look for the sell. We'd have an entry here, but we'd look for a flag here. Can we still buy this one here to go up? I think once it does that and we know it's a flat, it would be high risk. Right now, we don't know whether this takes off to become a bigger correction up. In that case, it's low risk. It's a risky trade, but low risk. Okay. Also drop. Same thing here. Is it going to make a flag for downside, a flag for upside, sorry, here? Or is it going to make a flat for downside? That's the question. So can we buy into this? I think we can buy. We can do the same thing we did in the put it in a 15 and do the same thing you did on the Swiss, right? You can do this. You'll have to put the entry order for the buy here as an aggressive buy. Again, you have to be careful that they might just tag you. I think this is going to drop one more. If it drops and break this low, you can put it here. This could tag you, break that up and reverse. It might not even break the top sometimes. In that case, you'd have to really get out you'd have to get out fast enough, or you might get break even still. If this works its way down to the bottom, I don't think this is a good sell here. I don't think you sell that, because you don't know that this doesn't go out from there, tag you here and go out, right? If it works its way down like this and we get to this low, then what we do is we'll watch it go back there and then we'll sell it. The move to the downside is a big one. You're in? Yep. This was a good trade, just in case you were looking for a trade. So now we're in this one and we're going back to the top. Can we look at all of this as some kind of a big correction here? Expanding flat. You can make an argument for that. It's possible. If that's the case, then we're going up one more. Let it break the top. There's no trade there to get. Absolutely no. Let it break the top. Even if it's going to go much higher, you don't have a flag to trade anymore. So you just have to leave it alone. Canadian. That's not a high probability trade. Canadian had one here. You took it off for break even because it tagged you like about 10 hours. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to get break even. Take it off for break even. You would have put it here, but when it drops to this level, you take that off because that is not the one you're looking at, right? So now we have this bigger one. It did come back to the low here. See this? It did come back to that low, but it's going back up into the top. We dropped, very nice. That drop was a good idea. This drop was a good one. But then you get 1, 2, 3. So this is this level here. We're at the top of this whole move here. And we're very close to the top. If this comes back, and it likely would come back. If this here comes back, if this goes there and come back, it's going to be a flat for one more up because it's way back at the top. We're always going to look at trades like that as a flat for one more up, right? So if it is going to make a flat for one more up, what's the range? You look at the range. Well, what's the distance from here to here? 136 pips. You can trade in that. 136 pips is a lot to trade in, right? So you got this flat here already. And this is going up, let it go up, make a fall, make a flag here. You need a flag, I don't know, something like the ones we looked at, something like this. That's a nice flag. If you get something like this, would be okay. And then you take that trade down to the bottom here. So it doesn't matter if there's 30 pips here or 20 or 40, you will still get about 60 to 80 pips on the trade by the time you get out of it. So that could be a sell setup we'll wait for a short-term sell setup. You'll have to wait for it to go make a flag on the way down. Sorry. Pangyan. Yep, we did make a flat and it's going back up. So let's see. You got this, and you got this. It's going back, it's breaking the top, so you'll have to wait for a flag. This entry, you wouldn't put that entry now. That entry is not valid when it comes this deep. That is more than 100 pips, right? So that entry is if it is a smaller one. But if you're in that entry, put it to break even when it goes up a little more. It dropped really deep. So if you're going to buy this one, if you were there to buy it, once you get the flat, you can take this trade or you can take this trade. Those two would have been better trades. You got a flat behind you. So those two are the better trade for this to go, not the entry above the top. That entry above the top was when it didn't go that deep. We were trading this small running flat. We thought this would be a small running flat there. That was that entry for. So when this break the top, the question is, it's still going up, so we have to take this out. We're still going upwards, take this out. And let's see what is the. This might end up being the up move with a deep correction here, some kind of a weird deep correction here, because it's still going up. We were expecting it to go up much faster. We weren't expecting this in it. We had one, we had two, we were looking for this three, and then come back down here. And we got this. We'll have to relook at the whole structure afterwards because I don't get that pieces yet. It's still in the correction, but I don't get that piece. So we'll take this out. This one is not going to happen. There's still a likelihood for this to come back and go, because I don't see this as a complete pattern. It's by itself not complete. So we'll wait and see. Do we have any buy setups? Well, if we get another flag, we can buy. We don't have any other more flag. New Zealand yen. You're the top. We expected to break the top. You're making a new high. It actually came back pretty deep. We thought this was the one going to go, but then it came back here and now it's going. What's the structure? I think we leave this alone. Because this, we had this. It was supposed to, like, this would have been a good trade. But then it made that flat and drop here. So this becomes a huge expanding flat. If it pulls back like this, give you this one, we can probably consider buying that. We'll buy this smaller flat in here. Buying this whole big thing doesn't make sense. So if it pulls back, give us a smaller flat in there. If it breaks the top, let it break the top. Because remember, you're the top for a downside. That is the top for this to come back down. It has to come back down for this one. So at some point, it will. Remember when it was struggling to go up here? Well, now it's at the top. It's struggling to turn. Let it turn, then we look for the trade. If we're going to take a trade top, then we want a really good flag. So this was a buy. Right? We were buying the break of this here. We were buying the break of this one, not this piece. I don't know if that is real, by the way. We were buying this flat, 1, 2, 3. So if this is real, we have a different problem. The trade is still good, but you have a different problem. I don't know if this thing is real. If it is not real, the trade is excellent because this would be the trade, right? This one here would be the trade, that small correction. But if this is real, it changes how we look at the structure. So if you're in the trade, good. If you're not in the trade, take that out. Wait for a flag. I'm not putting it here yet because I don't know whether that's a real one this morning. So wait for a flag buy. You're still going up. And where would this take you? Well, it can go, they can all go somewhere up. We might get this. We don't know whether that belongs to this piece or whether it belongs to this piece. It could be this or it could be this in the future. I mostly believe it's that one because of this inside of this. So I'm expecting this to go here, pull back like this, and then go. I think that pullback is going to happen. So let's see. Swiss yen. You could be in it. It has a flag at the top there. Let's see in the 1 hour. Yep. You would have a second flag to buy from. So the flag we were buying was this one. 1, 2, 3. But then you had this one. So you could have bought it from here. Right? Because this would be a smaller flag inside of that. It doesn't matter where you buy it from. Watch it, let it go somewhere, and then put it to break even. And follow it up for your profit because it's likely going to turn at some point. Do we have divergence? We're starting to get internal divergence here. See? Some internal divergence forming there. As you break the top, you have to be careful with that trade. We don't know how high it's going to go. Just follow it up. This is a big move. That's a big move. It will correct itself very soon. Very soon, there will be a correction in it. What's it on the weekly? I think we're getting to that weekly top. There's a big weekly top somewhere here. Oh, we broke that weekly top already. Okay, that just makes it a little stranger now. This is the low. This is a good flat. This is a single one. So we'll probably get a big running flat forming very soon. Go back to the 1 hour. Take any flag you get. We don't know where the top is. We don't know where it will stop, put it that way. So if you're in this flag, good. That's a trade this morning. Anybody took this? Simple. Put the entry order. What's going to go wrong with it? If you're scared of these breakout trades, and this would not have been the trade would have been here. If you're here this morning and you saw that and you took the trade, that's amazing. Right, that is the trade. I don't see what's wrong with it. It's a good trade. Anyway, let's go. I'll take this off because I don't know if any one of you are in it, so we'll go. We'll leave that. We wouldn't put anything. Euros. Okay, so we broke out of the structure. We were the. This could drop more. Let me see the bigger picture. A deep pullback. I think most likely what we'll get is a deep pullback, not a drop, but a deep pullback before they go. So on the 50 minutes, we don't have anything worth looking at there. It's consolidating right now. This would probably be a sharp move up, that gap. So you pull back, you do this, you come back here, probably go back up, come here. It's going to be a deep pullback. So we're going to get a big flat here. Probably get a big correction there. There's no trade that I see right now. The range is used, but I don't see a setup to seller to buy. So let's leave that alone. You're in New Zealand. This, on the other hand, we have a trade. We did go up. So this would have been a break-even trade, regardless of how you look at it. Tag, you pull back, come here, close the trade, or a small loss. It can be a small loss if you want. It went up, break the top. So now any sell setup would be good, right? Any sell setup for one more move to the downside. Could we look at this as a possible huge expanding flat? No, it's not fitting the expanding flat. That's a problem. Unless this one come back to the bottom here. This is more of a correction of its own, this whole piece. You can go with that as a correction of its own. Kind of a 1, 2, 3, something like that. So this sharp move up, actually, we should get something here. We should come back here and then go back up if they want. Right now, you're getting a buy setup. And the 1 hour, this would be a buy setup, a flag for upside. Let's see how it forms, and then we can probably take the trade. We're correcting this impulse. That's what we're doing, right? So you want this to come back here, go there, come back here, do this, give you a flag here. Consider that buy, and then consider coming back to this level. Because this is the single impulse we have in it. All right, whatever that is, that's an impulse to the upside, and we're reversing it. But this is correction. That's your sharp move. This is the correction. You will have to go back up and then come down. So we'll wait to see if we get a buy set up, and then we'll take the buy, and then we'll take the sell. Euro Swiss. I don't know if that was a bad sell either. I think that was a good sell, right? It is breaking out of the flat. So I think that was a great trade. If you're not taking them, then we have, can we put it here? This would be too big. We're way out of this structure. You got this. You're getting some, I could go with 1, 2, 3 here, come back here. I'll take that as a flat. So this one will probably go back up. We'll try to get it on the break of this or in the bottom here. So you want that to go back up first. We're still downside here. I still think we're downside. I don't think we'll even use this one. We might be using another one for that. So take this off. We're going to treat them as separate flats for now. This is a separate flat. This is a separate flat. This is a separate flat. And we're getting a separate flat here. I want this to go back up, and then we'll look for the sell. Sorry, wrong one. We would look for the sell from somewhere here or from a flag coming down. So what we look for, don't put it as yet. You need it to break this top. You need this to go up there, break the top, and then we'll either get a flag here or an entry here, whichever comes first. You get a flag first, we take the trade. We get an entry first, we take the trade. And then we see where it goes from there. EuroCAD. Okay, so take this off. That's a trade, but I'll call that a break even. It didn't go the way I expected to go, and we're pretty much still in this correction here. So this correction will be upside. because it's a huge flat for upside. If you get a big flat like this here, the chances are this is going to go back up one more. Do we have a seller or buy in it? I don't see either. I wouldn't take the chance that this gap here is not clear to me, right? It looked like they gapped up with an impulse here. I just can't be sure about it as yet. So let's see. Do we want to sell this coming down? Let me see in the lower time frame what it looks like. Not too sure. Let's leave it alone. We'll come back to it. Euro pound. Not sure. Don't trade it. Euro pound is going sideways, and we're in this one. On this here. You have a buy setup here. There's a flag forming there. At least one more to this level, most likely. And we have a sharp one down here. So there could be a chance where it pull back and then go. Take the trade and go for a break even. See this one here, it went up and then it pulled back. So worst case is you can get break even out of a trade like that. I don't think it's going to break out. We did break the low, but I don't think it's going to break out. I think we'll come back to this low and then go maybe. We might even retest the lows. How was the range? Let's see. If you take a trade here to that level, that's 15 pips on it. I don't know. I don't think it's worth it. It's only 15 pips. It's not a big move. I thought it was a bigger move than that. Let's wait and listen. See. Pound Swiss. Is a sell setup. I've got a good sell forming here. It's going slowly but surely. Take this off. That would have been a break even. I think we can put it here. We broke the top. This definitely broke the top there. So if we're going to drop now, you can go with 1, 2, 3 here. This could be it. You go back up. You made another small flag. You go back up. They can come here and go back up, but you're hoping they don't break that low. So we can either do two things. We can put it under this low. If it's a running flat, there's a chance they might not tag. If it's an expanding, they can tag you and go back up. Or you can put it under this one, right under this impulse. So even if you're making an expanding flat in here as a 1, 2, 3, it's going to go back up without tagging it. So I think we stay under this one. By the time it breaks this low, you can get break even. Like this one, you took it here. By the time it break the low and go back and come here, you can get profit. Not just break even. Where the stop is going to be above here. We'll keep the stop here. We're not really going to live with that stop even. How far this can go in the bigger picture? I think it can go quite a lot. We don't know where it's going to stop. And in the big picture, they can drop. You can get a very good move down. I think it's worth taking, and then we'll see where it goes. One more impulse down, and then we'll come back to Punkad. Okay, we're getting a flag here that looks very good. There's a lot of gap in the pound trades. Take this off. And this is what we'd look at, this piece here. So this would be a move up of its own. This is going to be a drop of its own. And now we're inside of this, whatever the hell that is. So there's a chance this could come back here, but even if it's going to go back up there. Can we go with a 1, 2, 3, and this actually comes here and break through? Makes sense. We'll go with that sell. So you can put a sell. This is a very small flag. You're not trading inside of it. There's no sense. I'm under 15. That thing is small. Going inside of it doesn't make sense. What's the closest you can get to it? Is probably if you want to put it under this one, but it's such a cluster, right? This is it. You can put it here, but that thing is just a few pips and it's such a cluster, they can tag you and go back up. So I think we will stay under the low. And the target would be coming to this low here. If it breaks through, good. Right? If it breaks through, good. So you can take this, put a stop here. You're going with it. You might not even live with that stop. You want it, once it breaks here, you start to pull back, you put it to positive and break even and see if it gets to this level. Right? If it gets there, move to take profit somewhere there because it can go back up. Wait for another flag and we'll sell again. If it breaks through, good for you. I mean, if it breaks through without stopping, you stay with the trade. That should be a good trade. I like this. We can go with a sell here for this one. Let's see what else we're looking at. Did we put on any other trade? I might have forget to put the entry or this thing in it. So here we're looking for this small flag to break and it go back up. No big deal. You thought you could have bought that? Congratulations. If you did, you're really, really good at it. I'm not that good at it. Well, this cluster is always thinking downside, but now they all gapped up. All the pound gapped up for whatever reason, I don't know. They all gapped up there, and now we're gonna take this off. We're not actually in a contracting flat as we thought it was. And we're not actually going up for that impulse as we think. We might still be in some bigger consolidation here. See? We didn't break the top. So the likelihood is we could be coming down back here and even go back up there, making this a flat. It's a weird one to look for a flat. It is weird because if this had broken the top, you have to check. If that break the top, that means this could be 1, 2, 3, and this could be coming down. I don't like this so much. I'd rather go with the pound CAD. So we'll wait on this. I'm not sure what it's doing. Right now, it looks like a small flag for upside, but I don't think we're coming back to retest that top. So we'll leave it. Pound Aus. That was Pound New Zealand, sorry. Yeah, Pound Aus. Also gap, went up there. This was a really good trade too, so I'll take that off. I'll take this off. And that one was only to break this low. You just got lucky. It went much deeper, so we'll take this off too. And this is what we're in right now. We're still in this. But it came back all the way to the bottom. It's not just the small one at the top, right? It came back all the way to the bottom here. Can we possibly look at this as a bigger... Could be. You can make an argument for that. And this one is coming down really slow. Or that is not it. This is a flat of its own. This is the low. This one is going to go back up there, make a bigger flat here, and then drop. That's the second best thing I can see based on what we have. So do we have a trade set up for the upside or the downside here? Nope, neither. We were getting a buy set up here. Kind of this should go back up, but you're in this one. So even if it goes, it's just going to go that much before it comes down. I don't see this sell, and I don't think this one is dropping. It is a very sharp move up. So I don't think this here is going to drop very far. And then we have a gap here that is not clear. Let's stay out of it for now. We'll look for a better entry. Aussie, New Zealand, you can get a sell set up here if you want. Put an entry here for a sell. That's a running flat in the making. You can put a sell here. Aussie CAD. We're making a big flat. We have 1, 2, and then this. So we have to get 1, 2, and then up. That'll be likely what we're doing. Go back to the 4 hour. Do we have a big move to the upside? We're coming back to this stop, and we might break out. We have 1, 2, 3, or we'll just come to this stop and go down back. So there is a trade to the upside. This is not ready to go. We don't know how big this is going to be. If you want to take this trade, it's a big risk, because we don't know how sharp this one is going to be to the upside. Put it on the 15, let's see. The best thing you can do is put an entry here. Do take it as an aggressive trade, put an entry here above this stop. You just want to make sure that we are breaking out of this last one and breaking out of the last impulse. So you want this to happen. And when it breaks this stop, which it will likely do because this is 1, 2, 3, put that into positive. We don't know how far this is going to go before we get this. We'll likely get it, but we don't know how far that is going to go before that happens. So what you can do is take this trade here as an aggressive buy. Sorry, an aggressive buy on a 15 for this trade up. So put a stop here, go with this one because it's not supposed to come back here. But if it does come back, you're going to close it before that happens. Once it breaks the stop here, start moving to get profit. Aussie Swiss. Also upside. This one came very low. What's the buy here? Let's see. You could make the argument for 1, 2. Strange. This was supposed to be the 3, but you can go with 1, 2, 3 here. 1, 2, 3 there. And then you can make this one the low. Which means wait for a flag on this. To confirm that this is what we're looking at, wait for this to make a flag like this. So let it make a flag here. And then there was a flag here, but that is gone. And I don't know if we'll take that flag inside of it. But if we get a flag here, we'll take that to break this top. Right? So there's a trade to go break that top, but you need a flag. So if we get a flag, we'll take it. We don't get a flag, wait for a flag. We'll put this waiting for a flag to buy. New Zealand CAD. Okay, this still didn't drop. It didn't come back to this level. It did come back, but not to this level. So you kind of get, this looks like another correction here. This is one correction. This looks like correction. And this correction should come back to this level first, making this the flat. Right? Kind of you had this flat in here. So you had 1, 2, 3. You have 1, 2. Let this come back here for 3, and then we have that up move there before we drop. See? So remember when we had that deep pullback, we assumed that it's going to be another flat. I think we had a structure like this already before in one of the patterns. So this is going to come down. Do we have a sell setup? Nope, I don't see the sell setup. And I don't think this is the low, because this one is really sharp. So we wait. We might get a sell setup to come back and break this low and then go back up. So wait for it. You can wait for a sell setup here. New Zealand Swiss. Let's see what this has. That's a very, very sharp reversal from the low. We broke this low. Let's see. We'll do this webinar today in 2 different parts because it is very, very long. So we'll make 2 parts of it. We broke the low. So the question is, if we're going back up, how high and how far? I think we're probably going back up. So go to the 4-hour. That's a sharp reversal there. Go to the 1-hour. Yeah, I think we did get a sharp reversal and we're getting a flag in it. Put it in 50. We got a sharp reversal. Very sharp here. I think we can make an argument that's a sharp reversal. And this is a very small flag. So let this come back here, make a flat. And then we take that trade up. At least we're going to have one more impulse up. If it's not the total upside, we're going to have one more impulse up. If you want to take it from here now, assuming that this is all, you have to keep a stop here. And you have to be aware that it could tag you and pull you back. So I would say we're looking for a flag, but let it make the flag. So we can put that as making a flag. Let this come back here. If this come back here, that'd be perfect, right? This has a 1, 2, 3. This has a 1, 2, 3. So if this come back here as a 1, 2, 3, we'll get a perfect flat for the upside. This would just make any flag here you buy or above the top for that trade. And if this is the start of the big move up, we're going to have a really good trade. So I think we wait on this. If it breaks the stop, make a flag, which means if it breaks this stop here and make a flag, we'll assume this is all and we'll buy that flag. That will be the confirmation. We had one like that where I think it was dropping, it broke the low, make the flag, you sell. Same thing we'll do here. CAD Swiss. Well, this wouldn't be here, but if you sold it, you probably get a small loss because you wouldn't sell it when you see this, right? By a day, this has to drop. If this is a running flat, this has to drop, not consolidate. So if they consolidate, the sell would be here. Not that you would sell that over the weekend, but the sell would be somewhere here, the last impulse up. And this goes there, you take a break even. So take this off. It's reversing. Yep, could be the same thing here, like we had, like the New Zealand Swiss. Let's see the big picture. Did we break the daily low? Nope, we're likely going to go lower. This would come lower. It has to break this low first before it goes back up. So 4-hour, it's just consolidating. 1 hour, that's just a bigger consolidation. Don't trade that. Leave it alone. Come back to it. Okay, I'll stop here. I'll do the indexes and that in the second part of the video. We'll do 2 parts today. Everybody take a break, get some coffee, get some tea, and we will be back in, now it's 10:17 my time, 10:30, 15 minutes, 10 minutes break. I'll see you guys in 10 minutes and then we'll finish off. Thank you for being here and thank you for your patience to stay through this long. See all of you in 10 minutes. What we'll do, we'll come in the room and we'll review the trade setups we have on, the ones we looked at. We look at those, just a few of them. We look at them very quick. See if anything, if you guys see anything else, we'll look at that. And then we'll do the second part. So give me 10 minutes and I'll see you. Thank you. Bye. I'll close the room for this recording to start.